I want to welcome you all to our live midweek service. I hope I find you well wherever you are. And I believe that God is blessing your life and your families and taking good care of you. Please sit back, relax. Let's take you on a journey in the Word of God as we try to analyze and teach on subjects that we have been covering in the past few weeks. Very critical and very important subjects in the body of Christ. And I believe that they have been of so much meaning to your life, and they have been improving you and growing you. The more we listen, the more we grow. The more we study, the more we grow. And more so because recently we have been talking about mind developing systems. And more so we grow our minds. As much as we learn, the more the information that we have, the more that we can grow our minds. If we don't do that, we relegate our minds to the systems of spiritual systems of the devil that will then come in and take over and give us some things to think about and not necessarily what we need to think about. And I believe that tonight you're also going to be blessed, you're going to be enhanced as you listen to this message. I also speak the same to many other people of our congregation that are going to listen to this message way after this message has been done. Please, I hope that you will be blessed, you will also be encouraged, you will also be strengthened. But at whatever point that you listen to this message, I encourage you to think deep about it, listen to it, meditate on it, and encourage yourself. Try to apply as much as you can to apply in your life to bring a change and a transformation to where you're supposed to go and how you're going there. And I pray that you will also be able to improve your life and grow it based on the information that God has released to our lives that we are teaching in this season. And with those few introductory remarks, I want to welcome you all to this session tonight. And with me tonight is Pastor Mike Okonorwa. Mother, you are welcome.
Thank you so much, Apostle.
You welcome back to a very interesting and very important topic in the body of Christ that we've been covering in the past few weeks. And on Sunday, we broke down some doctrinal issues that have stopped us from growing as Christians. And we delved deeper into trying to understand basic systems that God has given us as knowledge. And we taught something that was very, very critical. And we want to take it up from where we left on Sunday. On Sunday, I used Romans chapter number 12, the verse 1 and 2. Very common chapter, very common verse in the body of Christ. But I tried to break systems that might help us to understand where we're coming from and where we're going. My anchor verse on Sunday was verse number 2. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. And which we have then set ourselves to say, let's break down the processes and the systems that allow the transformation of the life of a human being based on the renewal of the mind, the transformation of the life of a person based on the renewal of the mind. Because we have a lot of issues here. In the world that we live, people believe that a person's life can be transformed not by the renewal of the mind. People believe that a person's life can be transformed by having a lot of money. People believe that you can transform your life by being rich, by associating with big people and successful people. But Paul runs away from all that, and he comes down from the Word of God, and he teaches a very important principle in the process of transforming the life of a person. Every human being is trying to transform his own life. Every human being is fighting to have his life transformed. And people are so interested in any system that would help them to grow and become better. But we then gravitating down to what Paul is talking about, which is the transformation of the life of a person based on the renewal of the mind. And I want to present this to us and to our audience out there, that it is critical that if the person's life is going to be changed in any way, there has to be an involvement of the mind of that person. We have to allow that person's mind to take center stage in the growth process. So on Sunday, I gave an example that was so clear. I don't have space now to talk about it, to really bring it to that way. But I said the mind of the human being should be in front when you're talking about change in the life of a person. When you're talking about change, the mind should go ahead of the body. The mind of a person, which is the soul of that human being, should go ahead of the body of a person. But Tinevanu, we have worked so much on their bodies. So the body has gone ahead of the mind. When that happens, we have a serious challenge. Because kunevanhu vekuti ukasangana naye street, you will think, wow, what a business person that I'm about to talk to. Just give him 2 minutes to talk to him and you'll be so surprised, so shocked with the shallowness of that person's mind. But the body has been prepared in such a way that it looks like you are meeting someone. This has eroded most of our systems that we believe should be able to enhance what we are trying to do and where we are going. So we have partnered with people without even knowing who they are. And we have made a lot of mistakes in our lives because we have judged a person based on the outlook of that person's life. But particularly we're talking about the body. With that person's body can give us a presentation. We have seen in our world, wow, because tie yakanatsobata zvakanaka, suit yakapfekwa zvakanaka, everything looks like a pastor. But mupe 5 minutes, and then you will be so surprised, so shocked with what will come out of that person is so primitive, so nothing, so useless, so shallow. Because the mind of the person is not gone ahead of the body. And this is very critical. I pray that our audience will also be able to join with us. I'm trying to bring it to a level where all of us can really understand what I'm trying to talk about. The mind should go ahead of the body. I would prefer a situation where the body does not look like a pastor, but to give that person a microphone and listen to the data that comes out of that person's mind. And you know, Tikadaro, we have created the normal system that Paul is talking about here. This is the normal system that God has created for humanity. God has created humanity in a way that the mind of a human being, because the mind of a human being is the greatest weapon that God has given to humanity. Many other systems, many other animals, God has given them some other things. Other animals, God has given them speed. To other animals, God has given them the ability to roar and to what? The other animals, like elephants, God has given them a huge body. And so those are their control systems. But to a human being, God has given the mind. The mind is the greatest weapon of a human being. And when we change that, and we make the body of a human being the greatest weapon, we have turned it upside down, and this thing will come back and haunt us in a way that will give us a lot of tears. So we have a lot of confusion now because there are people that look like it, but they are not it. There are people that look like I found him, but that person is not that person. We have many challenges in our marriages. I'll bring it down to that. And most of our challenges in our marriages is because when we start to date, when you're looking for a girlfriend, when you're looking for a boyfriend, the first thing that you see is the outlook. And you appreciate the outlook of that person. And you say, wow, I'm going to date this person. And then after you have said yes, that's when you then begin to delve deep into the person's life, and change was and at most times it's too late. At most times, that's the challenge. The challenge is at most times it's already late. Now you have already engaged. Now it's difficult to just break up. Now you have really proposed this person. Now you have gone ahead, you've seen the family and the parents. And now you can't go out of this union. It's part and parcel of your life. And I beg to differ. I want to bring this attention to everyone that azvisi zvakadiwa naMwari ndizvo zvakadiwa nelimitation yepfungwa dzedu. This is what I'm talking about tonight. Ndo zvakadiwa nelimitation yatakaisa mupfungwa dzedu. We have allowed our minds to be so limited that we have not allowed ourselves to see beyond the physical human body. At every juncture, at every point in your life, when you look at a person, you have the solical eyes, the eyes that can discern the mindset of a person and bring out the competence, the abilities, the capacity of a human being to the table before you make a decision to say, I am employing this person into my organization, or I am taking this person as my husband, or I am engaging this person as a partner in business. Before you do that, you have the capacity, the ability, the capacity within your soul to see beyond the presentation, because presentation, train wamanu. People are trained how to present themselves, how to look, and they will come and look so elegant. But within that spectrum is nothing behind the physical human body that you see. And then most of our businesses don't grow. One of our great challenges in Africa is we're trying to develop as many businesses as possible, but most of them are not rising. And because of our partnerships and connections that are coming from partnerships that have not considered the growth patterns and abilities of the life of a human being. We're discussing these things off air, and we're talking about the Group A schools that we have in our country and beyond. What most Group A schools concentrate on is not just academic excellence and academic knowledge, but they're also concentrating on the process, whether this child has been able to develop his or her mind to the level that it can think on its own. It can decide things on its own. It can have value. Wega pasina vanhu, you can have value. You can really think and manage your life within your own capacity, within your own self. Usla influence with the outside systems and outside world. And this only comes when we allow the development of the mind of that person. So I advocate kuti vana vedu ngavaendeswe ma-systems anodevelopa pfungwa dzavo. Not as much as just trying to spoon feed them and give them as much information. But some of our schools do that, where the teacher gives pupils the questions and then he gives them the answers, and he tells them to study them and cram them. So these children can pass an exam, but at the end of the day, they know absolutely nothing. We have many of our A students coming from most of our colleges and our schools that cannot live in this life. When you throw them into the world that we live now, they can't produce anything. They can't think. They can't imagine. The power of imagination, the ability to see beyond what we can see. The ability to see beyond the colors, beyond the veil, go down back there and try to create other things and bring them to the fore. They can't. What they can just do is look at a book, come up with that, and that's it. And I'll tell you, Kuti, this is totally dangerous. We have created this kind of people in our world, and I'll tell you that they constitute most of the people that are coming out of our schools. So you then get so worried when we have too many graduates that are coming from our universities, but we have nothing that we can create in Zimbabwe on our own. Because the mind creative systems have not been developed to the level where a human being can create. And I want to be so sarcastic, because I'm going to say something that's unorthodox. This is where you then discover that it might not be so important to take our children to school as much as we are doing so. As much as our educational curriculum is so good and is giving us, we're celebrating, we are celebrating vana vedu vabva kuma universities only to take care of them for the next 10 years. Why? I'm saying why. Because at the end of the day, what this child is bringing to home is just a paper. But no ability, no capacity. No capacity. And now Tavenima systems are in our educational curriculum where my students wonder they buy my paper just to pass. They buy answers from teachers, from Chi, they buy all these things and then they pass. They pass, they know nothing. But life will give you a real test. And this test you can't buy the answer. You have to think. Your mind must be able to develop to a level where you can think on your own and face life really on the table and deal with issues, deal with life, at the end of the day, most of them that are coming from our universities, though our mass streets, they cannot really, given a real life situation, they can't break it up. Their mind can't think beyond what they can see on paper. They can't think beyond that. So at the end of the day, we don't develop as a nation. And we don't develop as families. Yeah, taveni situation yekuti mbereki akapedzera grade 7 na nhasi ane vana 4 vakaita madegrees but ndiye achiri kuvachengeta vari pamba. No one can do anything. They say they are just they went to school just to get a job. And that's a wrong precept. That's why you discover now in our nation, most of the people are crying to the government to say to Mabas. And number one priority is we're going for elections later, 2023. One of the things that the government will always come back to the people and entice them with is to say, I'll give you jobs. And I'm saying that's a wrong direction. That's a totally wrong direction. I believe 100% we must have mindsets that are able to really think and be able to see beyond the notes that we are given in class. We can be able to create our own stuff and do our own things. Everything has to be thought out by someone else. No, this is a wrong system. And I pray that we rise up to understand this is what Paul is talking about essentially. He's saying, why don't we allow the mind to go ahead of the capacity of a body? So that everything that you're going to do within the spectrum of your body is something that you have thought out seriously in your mind and concluded that it is right before you do it. Before you do it. Then a situation where you do it, then think about it. Where the mind is coming after the body has done something. So mostly, in most of those situations, 50-50 situations, we normally we lose it. Normally we miss it. Multiple choice of A, B, C, D, 4 answers. If you guess answers, it's almost guaranteed that you will fail. It's never easy. It's never straightforward that you can guess an answer and get it right. It's never like that. You have to think. So life that's based on guesswork and guessing things, we don't have qualities in terms of our thinking mechanism, our thinking capacities. And I'm advocating for what the Group A schools are doing. And let's have our children grow up in a way that they are able to think on their own. Anna Paul, be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. Allow the mind to be the center of transformation of the life of a person. And the body will follow. So from what we started on Sunday, we then said it's something that's on the normal platform. Where if your mind has been grown to a certain level, it's natural that the body will just follow. The body of a human being does not think. The mind does that. So when the mind does that, the body must just follow where the mind is. This should be normal. This should be normal. And I pray we have this understanding fully consummated, so that we can allow the mind of a human being to become the center for the development and growth of that person's life. And I pray that our audience will understand what I'm talking about. This is key. This is paramount. This is practical. This is powerful. It's important that your life is grown from the perspective of the mind, not from the perspective of the body. But when I brought it down on Sunday, and we start dealing with issues and questions here, Pastor, I brought it from a perspective where a human being is a spirit. Principally, we say is a spirit, but we say a human being is a tripartite being. A tripartite being is a spirit, he is a soul, which is the mind, and then he is a body. And we say when a person is growing, the mind is the center, is the interface between the body and the spirit. And there's stuff that's coming from the spirit. And on Sunday, practically, we talked about intuition. We talked about information that's coming straight from the mind of God to the human spirit. And then the human spirit downloading that to the mind. So the mind of a human being, Dopandaka emphasizes a concept yekuti, the mind of a human being must be open to new information that's coming. Because there is new information that will come straight from the mind of God. And it comes straight into your life. And when that information comes, you have no reference to say, where is it coming from? And why is God saying I should do this and not that? There's no reference. There has to be that space in the mindset of a person that allows intuition to be at work in your life, where God can download stuff that comes into your mind and you process it and you do it without asking questions. Because this thing is coming straight from the throne of God, straight from the platform of God. And we have to have that in our lives. If we don't have that, we are in serious trouble. Because I said on Sunday, a human mind can have the capacity to silence the voice of God. You can shut it out totally. And if God speaks through intuition and you don't do it, and he speaks again and you don't do it, and he speaks again, he will not speak again. Remember the story of Samuel. God comes and says, Samuel, Samuel. And because his mind could not process that, there's a voice, there's some instruction that will come from this direction. He always believed that every instruction is coming from Eli, the high priest. So he believed that if there's anyone who's going to call me, who wants to talk to me and tell me something, it's going to be always from this direction. And I bring this to attention of every Christian, to say there's always going to be some information that will come from the other end. Please have liberality in your mind. It has space in your mind that will allow something that you don't know will to come into your life and still allow that to speak to you. Because if Samuel does not answer back to God, does not respond and say, I am here, Lord, speak, your servant is listening, God will never move to the next step. And this is very dangerous. It's very particularly dangerous. Because very stage where God speaks to your life, and then because you don't respond in the rightful manner, in the rightful way that God wants, God does not move forward. God is stuck. Because God does not continue to just speak to your life without you responding. So God speaks again. Samuel runs to Eli. And Eli says, go back, I did not call you. And Samuel goes back the third time, and he's still, the same voice comes back again. And I'll tell you, if Samuel would not respond, maybe the fourth time, it was going to be over. I guarantee you, God will never continue to just force to speak to your life. God has billions of people that he can be talking to every day. And when he speaks to you, it's a privilege for you to respond. And it's your own personal privilege to say, Lord, I'm here, speak. there has to be a space within the spectrum of the mind. I hope this can become clear. I hope that this can become clear. There has to be a space within the spectrum of a human mind to allow something that you don't know. Ukangofunga kuti unoziva zvinhu zvese, you will never, there are things that you don't know that God will never download to your spirit or to your life because you think you know too much from what you have. What we have is not everything that's there. What we know is basically just a little bit that God has allowed us to know. And when He comes to our lives and tries to change you and build you and speak to your life and tell you other things, you must have space in your life to listen to that. And that's intuition. I spoke about that on Sunday. Because when that happens, it also brings new stuff and new information where God begins to give you instructions and stretch your mind, stretch your life, change your life by giving you information straight to your mind. And I'll tell you, for most of the people that have become very successful in our world now, in this generation, most of these people, if not all, they have a space in their life that they allow intuition to have a part to play. And funny enough, some of these people might not be even Christians. But they respect the voice that speaks. Because when God speaks, He doesn't speak to Christians only. Remember, God spoke to ravens. God can speak to animals. Remember, in Egypt, He spoke to all kinds of things, including all kinds of animals and insects. He would still speak to them and tell them, now go and attack the Egyptians, don't attack these ones, go and do that. God can speak to, the voice of God can go to anyone, not just Christians. God does not just speak to Christians, He speaks to everyone. And there are people that do not even know God, but that have allowed in their minds a space for something that will come from the spiritual domain that they don't know. But most of us, most of us, we have switched that area because we think that all there is what we know from the physical. So I'm saying the two worlds that are coming and giving information into your mind. One from the physical, which is still there, which is very true. And we still regard that, and it's very critical and very important. And another one that will come from the spirit. Allow that to happen. So this one will bombard stuff. God will speak through this direction. This is where God speaks through. This is where God speaks through. This is where God speaks through. He speaks through the spiritual. Please open up your mind and allow some new information, some new stuff to come into your life and change you and build you. And then on the other hand, there's stuff that will come through the physical, things that we have studied, things that are in books, that have people that have studied and given us a lot of information. We study that. We must be able to allow our lives to develop based on the information that we study. Last week, Nagati, it will be very evil of yourself, for yourself, not to have any book that you are reading at any juncture in your life. Because your mind needs that. Your mind needs to develop. Your mind needs to grow. And we're discussing off air at Shiti, even at whatever age, even at 80, even at 90, your mind is still alive to new information. Your mind, if you allow it, if only you allow it, don't have a question. If only you allow, you can still bombard your mind with new information despite age, despite levels of education, despite despite vumidza ita liberality sunungura pfungwa dzisvike pa level yekuti dzinonzwa hadzirime inini so dzinonzwa dzinofana kunzwa. That's the development system that I'm talking about. Allow that mind to stretch. So kune information iri all over the place. Zvimwe zvinhu ingoverenga. Anditika, just for the sake of allowing your mind to develop on other things, so that your mind does not become idle. If the mind of a human being becomes idle, the devil comes in and plays with it. Remember, we said the mind is the battleground. So when the mind of a human being becomes idle, the devil will think for you. The devil will do the thinking and he will do the job. And when that happens, you'll discover that the devil begins to use you. Vanhu vakawanda vari kushandiswa nemweya yechina, chakatanga was not the devil entering them. Chakatanga was the idleness of the mind of a person. So you discover that demons always take advantage of ignorant minds. They are so prevalent in ignorant societies where people can spend the whole day without anything to do. How can you just wake up from the morning to evening and say, today I don't have anything to do? Either you go on your phone, you play a game. You are allowing your mind to become the center where the devil is going to work out his mess from. But if your mind is active, it's always you always can then make decisions and choices to say, do I want that, do I don't want that? When the devil presents an option, remember last week I said, when spiritual systems come in your life, they come and bring information just as an option. They don't force you to take it. It's not a must that you should take it. It's only when your mind then says, I want to take it, then that information becomes part and parcel of your thinking mechanism. So from the physical front, develop your mind. Study. Listen to some messages. Give yourself time to listen to information. And on Sunday, listen to other people. Give yourself space to listen to other people. They will give you new stuff. They will give you things that they also know, that they also studied, things that will develop you and grow you. So the process that will develop your life will have to also come so much from other people that have also studied, that have also worked hard to try and get some new stuff and some new information. Critical stuff. So the development systems of the mind of a human being will come from two ends, the physical and the spiritual. And we must allow that. And I'll wrap up with allowing the growth process. Exercise your mind for growth. Force it to think. Force it, because there are times where your mind is refusing to think. Your mind can actually refuse to think. And if you listen to your mind, your life will get destroyed. Yeah. So there are times where we force the mind to say, I still want to, I need answers. I need solutions. So how can my mind, let me down? It's my greatest weapon, remember. It's my greatest asset. So if my mind lets me down, then I'm down. I am as the man thinketh, so you are, so is he. As a man thinketh. So if my mind has refused to think, or I have allowed my mind not to think, or I have given it a rest to think, I am creating a serious challenge, a serious danger to the progress of my life. Let's discuss, Pastor over these issues that we have been discussing and talking about, particularly questions that are related to issues that are on the ground, things that are related to the mind of a person and the development process of the mind of a human being. I believe with all my heart that it is only when we allow the minds of a human being to develop that we can start to have success. Real success, tangible success. That's not balloon success. That's not something that just comes and goes. Something that can come and something that can stay. It can only be something that is coming from our minds. That's coming from our minds. Let's take it from there. And we start discussing.
All right. Thank you so much, Apostle, for enlightening us on intuition.
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen that we live in a world where everything is just so tough. And for others, it's tougher. And people who are stuck in situations where there's a term, where a person is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They have no one, they have nothing. How does that person start to think, start to develop their mind? What happens? How do they begin to accept that this is intuition, yet everything around them is saying otherwise?
Yeah. Truly, very important, very critical issues in the lives of a lot of Christians, and many people can really relate to what you're talking about. What the devil does in the life of a person is that as you are growing up, the devil will mess up your life. The devil will mess up your life because the devil knows all this information that we're talking about. At most times, way more than us. He knows that the process of development of a life of a human being can only be coming from the mind. If the mind of a person can think, then that person's life can change. The devil knows that. So what he does is he creates a system where you grow up in a family that has struggles and challenges. He messes up your parents, he messes up a lot of stuff, he messes up where you're coming from, he messes up things that you can rely on. You know, so you don't get an opportunity to go to a good school where your mind can be developed. You don't get an opportunity to have mentors that can mentor your life and develop you. You don't get an opportunity to have exposure to civilization, to growth, to successful patterns of life. You are down there in an environment where you are just like in a dark place and you don't see the future. You see nothing. We have had many societies that we have gone to preach the gospel. We get there and you have young people that know that there's nothing that I can ever do in my life. Because I'm coming from a very poor background, very challenging situations. When you are born in such an environment, there's always a likelihood that your mind does not get the opportunity to develop itself in the normal organic way according to your age. So you get to 20, but your mind is like a 5-year-old. You get to 30 years, you are 30 years or 40 years old, but your mind is a 15-year-old. Because there is nothing that it has really grasped over time because it was never exposed to all that. You never got that opportunity. So most of us then rise up in families like that. We grow in families like that. And now when intuition, you're talking about intuition, when the Spirit of God comes, takura, tashika panimwe level, watraga mwari, wasangana nai, waparidzirwa watendeuka. All of a sudden, warara, wakudzwa zvimwe zvinhu zvichiuya musoro mako. Zvichikudza kuti you can become a doctor, you can become a teacher, you can become a pastor, you can buy a car. You can buy your own house. You can make it in life. That's intuition. God speaking straight into your spirit, prophetically telling you that your life is still as open as ever. But you wake up, you know that life has dealt me like I was talking about life from a perspective. If you are born in Africa, life has already scored 1 against you. It's already 1-0. You know, and when you are born to poor parents, life is already leading 2-0. You know, and when you don't get an education, life is leading you 3-0. So you discover that there are moments in life where life has totally led your life. You are down 12-0. And now you have to hustle and fight back to try and come within shooting distance. And this is what we can relate to. Most of our life is just like that. You know, you're coming from the backdrop of struggles and suffering. So just to believe, just to allow your mind to believe that you can speak in English is a mammoth task. Because you know, it's easy. Kana mwana akadziswa chirungu ari grade 1 crash. It's easy. When you start to learn it 15, 30, 40 years, unoanza feel out, I think life has taken me for a ride. And there's always a tendency to say, I give up. Ndo zvakadiwa na Mwari. There's always that tendency. But I come with a different gospel. Paul is not teaching us that. Paul is saying it is possible. I hope I can minister to this. Because there are things I feel like preaching. I feel like preaching. I'm telling you, I feel like preaching. Just breaking this into some other realm and start to speak in tongues and declare these things, because I know that it works. There are societies that we have gone where people never got an education. They grew up in it. They don't believe that their lives can change. They don't believe anything can change. And then I want to bring to this attention, ladies and gentlemen, if you allow your mind to believe it, if you can only allow your mind to believe what God is telling you, it's only a matter of time before things begin to transform and change in your own life. I was listening to the story of Archbishop Duncan Williams, one of the great preachers in Ghana. And he's a spiritual father to most of our church leaders now in Africa. I was seeing him preach Kupota South Square Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I was so shocked because he was explaining, he said, when I went to Bible school in Nigeria, I could not even write my name. Listen to him preach in America at Bishop T.D. Jakes' church. Listen to him preach. Listen to the English that comes out of his mouth. But he says, when I went to Nigeria to Bible school, and I was studying Bible school, I did not know how to write my own name. I did not know how to speak a word in English, not one. But what God said to me, he says, Archbishop Duncan Williams says, what God says to me, he said, I'm not taking you there to study academics. I am taking you there to study that man that you are going to be under. And that man was Archbishop Idahosa. So he went into the Bible school. Yeah, this one Archbishop Idahosa, and he says what I was only doing, because academically I could not even write my notes. I was studying the man. Go into Bible school, stay there, study, and allow your life to change. And I'm saying the devil guy has messed up your life. He has created a hard place, a situation that you cannot understand that it's possible that your life can change. But I want to bring to your attention that God is God. If God says yes, not even the devil can say no. And when he says you can rise and make it in this life, find a way to just believe it. And I pray it when I'm talking about it. I pray, Vanangu, all over. Please, if you would find a way to believe what I'm telling you. I know this gospel works. This is the power of the gospel. It is the power that transforms. That's why Paul writes in Romans chapter number 1, verse number 17. Says it is the power for transformation of the Jews and Gentiles. Anyone who subscribes to these principles and systems, this life can change without fail. Without fail, your life can totally transform if you only allow yourself to allow your mind to have space that allows God to speak into it and tell you what you're supposed to do. And look at your life change. Look at your life totally transform. Look at your life totally spin around and bring out something totally new. Is there light for somebody like that? 100% there is. No matter how tough and worse still, no matter at what age. Because the mind of a human being does not become young as you grow, or does not deteriorate as you grow. In fact, the mind of a human being becomes better as you age. As you grow, your mind grows. Your mind grows because of the amount of information that you're getting and everything. Your mind keeps growing. So there is always space in your mind to mature, to grow. Even if you are 80 years, your body can't live, you can't lift up your body, you can't walk, you can't do anything. Your mind can, as long as you are not sick, your mind can still be as sharp as ever. This is why you discover that most of the greatest ideas come from old people, not from young people. The reason is because these people have grown and they've allowed their minds now to accept anything that is coming as new information. And they believe it. They easily believe it because they've seen more in life. Young people, we have a serious challenge because we shut the voice of God out. We shout that out, we shut that out. We say, I cannot be thinking about that, I cannot be doing that. And when God tries to knock on your door, you remember we're talking about Samuel. Samuel is shutting out the voice of God. But Eli is saying, go and say, because of maturity, not because God is speaking to him, but his mind has matured to the level where he can now accept new information. He says that voice could be God trying to say to you something else. Please go and write those notes down. Accept new stuff. Because somewhere along the growth process of the life of a human being, the mind does not die. The mind does not collapse. The mind still is alive. And it's only the day that you will allow that mind to say, I've shut out my mind. That's the day that the mind can then begin to collapse and die. But kuna vanhu vakawanda, I was discussing this off here, to say kuna vanhu vakasvika palevels yekuti chero akutofa anosiya apa vanhu advice. Musare muchengete vana, musare muite zvakati, musare muite zvakati. Giving advice. This person is dying. His body is deteriorated. Everything is collapsed. But the mind is still as active. The mind of a human being can still think. This is why I'm saying, even at 60, there are people that started businesses at 60. Because they allowed their mind to say, I'm going to be liberal. Mari, whatever you're going to tell me. And I open up my life. You know, you go into your prayer room. You stay there. You wait on God. You say, speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. He doesn't speak anything. You come back again tomorrow. You give yourself an hour every day. I'll tell you, one day you will hear the voice of God begin to speak to your life. God is not a man that he should lie. One way or the other, God will visit your mind and tell you something that you need to know. If there are issues in your life, I hope I'm not preaching. If there are issues in your life, if there are things that you have questions in your life, why don't you give yourself space to say, God, speak? You allow, say, God speaks. My mind has been limited. What I know is now limited. It's not working. I need more than what I know. 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 And God will come through. God will come through. Innovation, starting new things. It's all imagination. Where you have allowed your mind to say, God speak. God speak. My mind is listening. God speak, my mind is listening. I'm waiting on something new. Or at times you are researching through the night, looking for stuff that can just give you an insight of something that you don't know that you can start to know now. It's possible that you can start to know things that you never knew. It's possible that the mind of a person can still grow. But you can instruct other people to do it who still have strength. Allow your mind to develop. Chero wave go, allow your mind to grow. Chero wave sekuru, bvumidza pfungwa dzirambe dzichikukura. Usabvumidze mind yako kuti itonhore, isiye zvinhu zvakadaro. Is there room for growth for that a person? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. But I'm trying to bring to this attention. Is there hope for that person? Yes, there is. Plenty of it. And we can surprise the devil with a person who is liberal, mind market. Yeah. If we can create liberality within the mind of a person, we can shock the devil in any area of this world. We can take those people that grew up in serious poverty to become the richest people in our world. Because the minds are liberal. They have opened up to growth. They have said, it's okay, enough is enough. I want my life to grow. I want to be better than this. I feel like preaching. All right. What is the other question?
Thank you so much, Apostle. I think you partly answered this one where I was going to ask that, is it always refusal when a person is not being transformed? or it's just situations that allows them to stay in a certain place?
No, it's not situations.
Okay.
It's refusal. You now say it's refusal. But many people will say it's situations. And the devil will always come to your mind and tell you it's situations. The devil will always point out at the situation and circumstances that you face in life and say, without education, you can never make it. Without this, you can't do that. Without this. So you always look at the circumstances. The devil always look at circumstances and situations and point that to your mind. Say, don't allow your mind to think about anything else because you can't do it. Look at the circumstances. Look at the situations that you are facing. You can't do it. Not you. Maybe Ningi. Maybe someone else can do this. So, but no.
Okay. Is it always refusal?
Is it always refusal? Is it always refusal? Anyone say, I'm saying it's refusal. Because when the devil speaks to your life, he's only giving you options. He can't force you to say, take it. They must. But you always bring this to your attention to say, you can't be a pastor. You can't do that. You know, he's only giving you that as an option. But there's always space where God will also be speaking. Remember the still small voice that speaks from the inside of your life and tells you that you are my child. You can do it. You can do it. And with God, all things are possible. You can do all things with me. And when God begins to speak that way, you have two voices that are speaking to you. And the Bible says, which voice shall you believe? And choosing to believe this other voice of the devil is your own choice. And choosing to believe that I can do it, I can make it, I am going to do it, and I am now engaging every other system to start to do it, is also another choice. It's your own personal choice again that you can also make to say, I'm going to do it, and you start doing it. There are plenty of people in this world, and I don't Google our own, plenty of people who have done it, Anavujicic, Vasinamaoko, who said circumstances and situations are not going to limit me. But they've excelled in life. They got married, they can swim, they can drive, they can do a lot. They can speak, they are public speakers. They can host audience of able-bodied people. Thousands or if not millions. Very successful people. It's only within the spectrum of your mind. If you say in your mind, I can't, you can't. You can only do it if you allow your mind to say, I can do all things. If your mind comes to a level where it says, I can do all things, you can do, despite challenges, despite circumstances, despite cases, despite family backgrounds, despite weaknesses, despite talents, despite lack of giftings, you can still do it. If you say in your mind, I'm going to do it. That's clear. So I say it's refusal. It's not circumstances, it's not situations. It's refusal. But always many people say it's circumstances. My don't did say those are now ziriko, do ndakavharirwa, ndo ndakazvarirwa, ndo family yandakakurira, ndo situation yandakasangana nayo. Ndo zvakasangana nemunhu wamwari. I say zvese izvozvo is always at the mercy of how much information that you have in your mind. And with so much information in your mind, you can always make another decision. You can always think otherwise. Yeah, you can always think otherwise. You can always think otherwise. And if you think otherwise, you can make otherwise. You can make it otherwise.
I was basing this on the situation that had befallen the Israelites when they were in Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
I would say some were liberated, but were still not transformed.
Mm-hmm.
They just came out of Egypt, but still not accepting that this was real, considering that they had been born in Egypt.
Exactly.
Faced everything in Egypt,
yes,
and could not think of any other place.
True.
So, thank you for this information.
True, very true. The children of Israel, the story of the children of Israel makes me cry. Because God showed them all kinds of miracles and systems, but they still could not believe. And in Ruguti, it's a choice. Because God demonstrated 10 different plagues. And Moses achideclare kuti ndira kuratidzai kuti Mwari auya kuzokusunungurai. But they still could not believe. Yeah, problem yaMwari here. Yeah, problem yavanhu. And I still believe it's the mind of a human being. No matter how many miracles, and I've prayed for a lot of people, and people have experienced plenty of miracles, but I lost them. It's a choice. It's a choice. It's a choice of the mind, not what is happening within the spectrum, not what is on the ground, whether good or bad. There are people that go to a group A school, grow up in a very good family, with everything that they need in their lives, and they allow their life to get destroyed. I'm saying it's a choice. It's not circumstantial. The devil uses circumstances to try and train people in a certain way, to go in a certain way, to move in a certain way. No. No, God does not do that. God will always work his way out through the situations, through the circumstances. In fact, anototi kunyangwe ndikafamba nevampata womuvuri werufu, situations, circumstances, I am not going to be afraid. Kwete kuti ndikajamba, kwete kuti ndikatiza muvuri. Even if I go through, if I walk through, which means I am facing them, but I'm still walking through. I'm facing the circumstances, but I'm still walking through. I'm facing the situations, but I'm still walking through. And there are plenty of people who have walked through things that are unexplainable. The Bible talks about people that went through fire, through others that went through the lion's den, but they still came on the other side. How? How did they pass through all this? So situations are not something that we can call. If I hope I'm speaking to someone who has many situations and is always coming down to those situations to say these situations are causing me not to succeed, not to go somewhere, not to be someone. No. Unfortunately, I bring this to your attention. It's your mind.
So they're just petty excuses.
These are petty excuses. Petty excuses. Real biblical stuff is mind of a human being. The mind of a human being must grow. Put your mind to task. Push it to grow. Schedule time. Schedule time. On Sunday I was you can sleep 8 hours, 10 hours per day, per night. No. Sleep 4 or 5 hours. Give yourself, force this mind to think. Give it a lot of stuff. Read, listen to stuff. Force yourself to be, mind developing systems. To engage yourself in mind developing systems. And allow your mind to be the center of development and growth in your life. Let the mind carry the weight of vision, of the vision that you have in your life. Not your body. Not your body. Not your body. Pfungwa shoma dzinowanzira atenzi basa. Body yako inogona kutambura. So you discover that most of the manual jobs that we do are only for those people that do not want to use their mind. There are many people who prefer to use their body instead of using their minds. And they suffer. Because you are putting your body under immense pressure to try and carry the whole vision of your life without your mind. Your mind should always, at all times, carry the vision of your life. Any question before we wrap up? If there's anything else. I think we have covered most of our stuff. We're coming to the end of our program. All right. So let's wrap up tonight. I want to thank you all for joining us. And please, I reiterate, I speak once again. It's your mind. Your success is because of it's the level of your mind. Your struggle and suffering is also because of the level of your mind. If you don't allow your mind to be growing, you're going to be crying all your life. If you allow your mind to grow, the Bible says time and chance is always going to be given to everyone. Everyone will always have an opportunity to make money. Everyone will always have an opportunity to change his life, to liberalize everything. But it's entirely based on how you think. So I pray that this lesson will give somebody an opportunity to rise up and move certain things. Feel free to send your questions and your issues so that we can dig deeper. If you have another way that you see this topic, please share with us, and we will gladly look at it and discuss it in our next program. And may God richly bless you in Jesus' name.